Hello, welcome to Bell Brothers Brewing, engineers talking about beers.
You ever wonder what happens when you freeze your beer? Let's find out.
Today we're going to talk about Aventinus Eisbock. You may ask, what is an Eisbock?
So an Eisbock is, like we talked about in the previous video, right? So in the previous video we talked about Bocks, and this is a Bock. So it is out of the region of Germany, Bock. An Eisbock, traditionally a winter style beer, is usually heavier. It's got a fuller body, and that really comes from the fact that they freeze the beer, or partially freeze the beer, to pull the water out of the final product, and thus increasing the ABV, increasing the body, increasing those sugars, because the residual sugars that would have been around and dispersed over all that water is now condensed. It's kind of like if you think about a ice wine, right? Out of Germany, same general concept, same general idea, just done in a beer style.
The back of the bottle says, Aventinus has been known to be the most intense and complex wheat doppelbock in the world. Recently, Hans-Peter Drexler, G. Schindler and Son, heard stories about some extra special Aventinus resulting from partially freezing a beer in a cold winter during transport in the 1930s. He decided to recreate this classic mistake to further concentrate Aventinus in a modern controlled facility. Thus, the Aventinus Eisbock was reborn.
Later on, figured out, yeah, hey, we should go do this. Probably because all the drunk patrons on the other side, right?
Yeah.
People
because this is a
who's good.
This is a 12% beer. So you're talking about Doppelbock is an 8. They added another 4% to make this beer. So it is a strong beer. You know, you're pushing into strong ale, barley wine categories.
Let's see. So for a typical Eisbock, beyond just being generated like that, we're still thinking kind of the dark caramels, maybe potential like dark fruit flavors.
I feel like dark fruit is really the big point of an Eisbock. I've had one other before, and it really had a lot of that dark fruit flavor. It was like drinking like a raisin prune juice, but in a way that doesn't sound as bad.
So it can be kind of similar to a barley wine?
Mm-hmm. Very much like a barley wine, like an English barley wine.
So it's in those same ranges where you're looking for those really sweet characters. This is not a hop forward beer. Shouldn't be a hop forward beer.
Nope.
Should be very sweet. Should be malt forward. Should be thick, full body. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would be really upset if this comes in like a medium full or a medium body. Mm-hmm. It should be medium full to full, and preferably I like Eisbocks in full, like heavy,
very full.
This is one of those beers that you want to chew, right? Mm-hmm. This is the beer that you want to really have some richness to it.
The sipping dessert beer.
Yeah,
that's what you're looking for. Should be a little bit of yeast flavor. It kind of varies from Eisbock to Eisbock. Some are very yeast heavy, some are not so much.
Let's get into it.
It's like a darker Doppelbock. Surprise, surprise.
The lacing actually drops really quickly.
Well, that's a feature of having higher alcohol.
Yeah.
Is lower head retention, less lacing, even with higher protein. This probably does have higher protein just due to being concentrated.
The head retention is pretty impressive, though. I mean, honestly, like it is sticking around, and it's kind of appealing in the sense that it's very tiny bubbles, very fine bubbles,
yes.
Very creamy kind of head.
It's very creamy.
So it's really appealing just looking at the beer itself with that off-white head. The color, like Cody was saying, it is a little dark or a little hazy, so I think there's something in some particulates. Or the beer itself is just a little too full. Maybe something from the freezing capability. I'd be interested to explore maybe the effects of freezing on the style. Because usually you cold crash a beer. And cold crashing helps drop those particulates out. But I'm interested in maybe by pulling water out it causes issues. But it's kind of...
Could be something, kind of like a chill haze sort of thing. Some
Yeah.
sort of weird
I don't know.
protein shenanigans. Right. There's a lot of protein shenanigans in beer that happen.
If you know the scientific reason, tell us below.
It smells very good. You know, a lot of very sweet smell.
I'm picking up dark fruit, definitely in the sense of like plum, raisin, kind of probably more raisin characteristics. Strangely enough, when you said banana, I'm still picking up maybe a little bit of that banana. So it might be the yeast that they were using in the brewery bringing it out, or the fruity esters that are kind of from the beer itself. Mm-hmm. So I think the fruity esters may be bringing in some of those banana aromas potentially. It's light, but I think the dark fruit flavor, the smells are much bigger, and the sweetness is really.
Yeah, you can really smell a nice malty sweetness. Dark fruit is really clear. Like that's the main thing. It smells almost like a date. I think dates are the one I'm getting a lot.
There you go. That's a good one.
Smells a bit like a date. And then you can also get a little bit of that alcohol smell. So I can smell.
Yes.
And it's not bad alcohol. So it's not a fusel alcohol. It's not solventy like at all. It's a nice refined alcohol aroma, which you would expect in a 12% beer. It's going to be hard to make 12% without having any alcohol smell.
Right.
But it's an inviting alcohol smell. Makes me want to take a sip.
Let's give it a taste.
All right. So it's very sweet, big date, raisin sort of flavors. There is definitely some alcohol. You can taste the alcohol a little bit, but it's not. Yeah,
some warmth is what it's called.
This is a good winter beer. It'll warm you up. If you're feeling a little chilly, it'll warm you up good.
It hits. You're like boom. You're like and then just all the way down like this slow roll into your gut.
Yeah. But you can taste the alcohol, but it's not bad. It's not sharp. It's not solventy at all. So just like the smell, it's that nice. You can tell someone aged this really well to get the alcohol developed properly.
That is key, honestly. Like how high alcohol beers really need to be aged appropriately. If you take a fresh high alcohol beer and you throw that out there, it hurts to drink. It's just not fun, and you'll really tell that it's a young beer with high alcohol. Any decent high alcohol beer has to be aged into its longevity, the flavor itself.
Yeah, it just takes time for the alcohol to kind of mellow out. It'll be solventy and hot fresh out of the primary. You really just got to give it some time.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes on oak and barrel flavors really well. That's why you see a lot of barrel aged beers.
Oh, yeah.
It's because the alcohol will kind of absorb the flavors of that barrel, and then it takes it from alcohol into a nice oaky
liquor.
Yeah, liquor. Yeah, it makes it taste kind of like liquor, but different.
Right.
And in a beer.
Well, and so in this case, I think it picks up a lot of those real dark fruits. The dates, I think, shine through real well. Mm-hmm. It's balanced well. It's still sweet. It's very much sweet.
Yes.
Malt forward, dark fruit, sipping beer. But it's just enough of the hop bitterness to balance out the act. If it was too much, it would almost be clinging, cloying, too sweet.
Broccoli.
Yeah, sugared broccoli going on. But instead, it's just enough bitterness to balance out the flavor with your ability to sit and really enjoy those dark fruit flavors, the complexities of such a robust beer.
Yeah. And that robustness goes well with the velvety, sort of fluffy mouthfeel. It's like I think we were talking about before. If you swish it around a little bit, it sort of fills out, but it's got a nice smoothness to it. So that's where I think you really get that velvety. I think is the best way to describe that.
It is luscious, right? I mean, there is no doubt that whatever you paid for this bottle, it is worth that, right? And like it feels rich and decadent in the mouthfeel. It's smooth. The foam, I'd say the carbonation's probably in the medium high range. It is actually fairly well carbonated. I think you can still see it cranking along in there.
I think that's just the body slowing it down some. I want to say it's a medium low. It doesn't really, it puffs up a little bit, but it doesn't have those big, you don't see big bubbles in the head. It's nice, thin, fine bubbles all the way across.
I agree, but put it on your tongue, right? So what the best way to tell kind of where that lands is you put on your tongue and you feel whether or not it's bouncing on, like is it spiking along on the palate. And personally, I find it bouncing around a little bit. It's a little spikier on the palate. I think there's more carbonation in there than it seems, but because the body is so full, because there's so much alcohol, the palate gets slicked and the liquid is just thick, and so it comes across as rich. But I think it has more carbonation than it seems.
I'll give you more than it seems, but I don't think it's above the medium.
Yeah,
I think it's medium at most.
If you put this on nitro, I think it would put it it would take it to an 11. I mean, it would just be like, whoa, crazy. So I know bottled Aventinus, maybe, as you're trying to do the CO2 aspect of it, I would highly recommend Aventinus takes a look at this and maybe decides to go and put this on a nitro can, right? Because, oh my God, that could be really good.
There is something to be said, though. You would lose your carbonic bite. So you might have to do a little rebalancing to make sure that you have enough bitter to balance your sweet without the carbonation, the carbonic bite that you get from your CO2. Yeah, because your nitro is not going to give you that at all. That's one of the big differences between a nitro beer and a regular CO2 beer, is the nitro is not going to give you that carbonic bite,
right? Which
really does change the flavor and the feel of your beer in a lot of ways.
Big time. Personally, I enjoy it with an IPA, because I'm strange like that. But
it's an interesting way. It kind of it changes the feel. It's the same base. If you want to do this, I think Compass is still available at Bristol in both Nitro and regular. Get them side by side. It is a noticeable difference in the way it tastes and the way it feels. It's not just the texture. The whole flavor changes because you don't have that carbonic bite in there anymore.
I agree. If they went with nitro on this, they may have to bump up some of those bittering hops, maybe to kind of balance it, keep the balance in there. Yeah. But I think the nitro would just bring it
the different texture to the bubbles.
It would be really cool. It would be a fun experiment to go check out, to go see what I would do with that aspect. Aventinus, I actually found one of the times I was in New York. They do other beers as well, usually very good, fantastic taste, quality. This one in particular, still good. I'm going to have to add it to my collection of favorites personally. This is a excellent winter beer.
This really makes me want to make an Eisbock. maybe going into fall this year, we should look at doing an Eisbock. Yeah. Maybe we can age it in and let it ready so that we come. Because we got to age it. I'm going to assume probably a month or two at least.
At least, yeah.
So give it a month or two and maybe coming around in like November, December.
So coming to you this New Year's, Bell Brothers Brewing's Eisbock. Yeah. Of course, you have to come up with a bock first.
Yeah. We can take our...
Dunkel?
Our October.
Oh, the October?
Yes, the Imperial October is already pretty close to a Doppelbock.
But it doesn't have, the Intoxicate does not have the dark fruit flavors or the richness that I would contemplate.
Dingeman's Kiln 50.
Yeah, you're just gonna dump Dingeman's in.
Dingy it. Hit it with that Dingeman's. Really pump up that.
Just like a 2-pound whack right into it.
So for those of you, if this even ends up in the video, Dingeman's Kiln 50 is a malt that we use. It really brings out that raisiny dark fruit flavor. It's in our stout. It's in our Dunkel. It's just great for making a nice dark fruit flavor when you need it. And our Intoxicate is already a nice, strong beer. It's too strong for an Oktoberfest.
This one makes it fun.
This makes it fun. It's a very strong Oktoberfest.
It's already a smashable Oktoberfest, which is why it gets so many people in trouble.
So if you took that, add a little more dark fruit flavor, you'd have a nice, standard Doppelbock, and then we can turn it into an Eisbock.
Personally, 10. I like this beer. It's really enjoyable. I wouldn't change anything about it. I mean, I would enjoy the experiment of seeing what the nitro versus CO2. But as far as like a beer I would drink, all winter, every winter, I think about this as like an equivalent to Dragon's Milk. Like Dragon's Milk has got that aged barrel on it that is really good. It's a heavy stout, kind of kiss your pants. In that same vein, if you want something like that, you could go to this Eisbock and get more dark fruit flavors rather than like the barrel aged flavors or the stout, burnt, toasty, roasty flavors. You're going to go into this whole other category.
If you're not a big stout drinker, but you want a big dessert winter beer, go for an Eisbock. Especially, it does not have any roast or burnt flavor at all.
It's like red wine kind of deal, right? Or like a port. There we go. That's a better one. Like a port. So if you like drinking ports, port wine, this would probably be a lot closer to something you'd want to drink.
I agree with you there. I think 10 is a good number for this. It's a good one. There's nothing I'd really change about it. I enjoy it. Did a bee splash left in the bottom of the cup.
Thanks for visiting us here at Bell Brothers Brewing. Engineers talking about beers.
Cheers. Maybe we have to do 2 different versions. Make one to get the Doppelbock, check it, make sure it's good, and then turn it into an Eisbock.
We got time to play around for a little while.
Yep.
Sugar dates, and pistachios.
I do not know that joke.
What? Oh, Aladdin? When he's doing the sugar dates, and pistachios.
I got you now. All right. But I will agree, it feels nice. It's not prickly or anything like that. It's just really good mouthfeel. It really makes you want to just let it sit in your... It makes you want to let it sit in your mouth. You can feel and enjoy the mouthfeel, enjoy the complexity of the flavors properly. Really just kind of sit there and take a sip. Just
Contemplation of
contemplate your beer. Yes.
Is the body as full as you guys wanted it to be?
Oh, yes. It's very full-bodied. It's a big, thick beer.
Oh, yeah. Definitely big, thick, rich, creamy, smooth. I mean,